What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here live for your NFL Week 17. Week 17 is here. That means we only got 2 weeks left this NFL season. Week 17 NFL Power Rankings. The top 20 teams in the NFL, counting down who are the best teams in football, which teams have the best shot at making the postseason, and which teams do I feel the strongest about entering January, entering February football. Before we get started, guys, you know what to do. Don't forget to spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comment section below, or if you're live here with me right now, as we do this every single Tuesday night, live on the Bottom Line View. Let me know how you feel about each team in the comments section below. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Becca, Asma, Jermari. Shout out to you guys. Let's get started with number 20. Yes, we have a new number 20 and a new team entering the top 20 teams in the NFL. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20. I have the Steelers. I just think they're playing consistent football. They're not a spectacular team by any means, but they do have a very outside chance at the playoffs right now. I think their defense is playing well, specifically in the front seven. And I think Mike Tomlin has found a rhythm coaching this team. Offensively, Kenny Pickett has been getting better and better at quarterback, and Mitch Trubisky has been able to fill in fine when Pickett has gone down. I think their run game has gotten a little bit better, and Deontay Johnson, Pickens, these receivers are really picking it up. I think post Chase Claypool, they've kind of been able to figure out who their go-to guys are in the offense, and it's worked out well. So the Steelers, I just felt like they deserved to be ranked in the top 20, so I put them at number 20. At number 19, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, moving down once again this week. Even though they did win this week, they beat the Arizona Cardinals just barely. It seems like the Tampa Bay Bucs, the only way they can win games is by falling behind and then trying to fight back with Tom Brady throwing 50 times a game. That's really the only way that they move the ball or win games whatsoever. And usually it's the same spot where the Bucs are in each and every fourth quarter. They're in a close game and Tom Brady makes some throws and they end up winning the game. That's kind of the way it goes. But this is a team that I still feel, they frustrate me a lot. This past week, I wasn't expecting the game to be as close as it was, and I didn't expect the Bucs to have to come back in that game. But I will say, if Tampa can find a way to win this week, which I'm not sure if they will, if they can find a way to beat the Panthers and make the playoffs, this is still a team that, if they are healthy, which they are not, like a lot of people are missing that right now, right? They're without their left tackle. Left guard has struggled. Defensively, they've been missing Vita Vea, missing Jamel Dean, missing safeties, missing linebackers, missing edge rushers. This team has had to deal with a ton of injuries. And I think last week we saw that. So if this team can somehow make it and then be fully healthy with the talent and the leadership and the experience they do possess, they could walk into Dallas and give the Cowboys a tough game in the playoffs. So I still don't discount them from that perspective. At number 19. At number 18, the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are one spot ahead of the Bucs because I think they're just playing better football. The Panthers did lose J.C. Horn, arguably their best defensive player this year. I mean, he's been phenomenal at cornerback for Carolina. And that's going to hurt them a ton in this Bucs matchup. We'll see if that secondary can come to play on the road in Tampa. But I just like the way they've been playing football. I like the way they're running the ball most weeks. I like how their offensive line is playing and protecting Sam Darnold to give him a chance to make decisions. I feel like from a coaching standpoint, they know who they are and they don't try to spread too thin. They play ball possession, they protect the ball, they take it away, they rush the quarterback, and they've got really good athletes on defense. And I think they play towards all their strengths. And I think Steve Wilkes has done a great job. This is a team that since week 7 has an above 500 record. So I think they've been playing better than the Bucs. The Bucs are more talented. The Bucs have more experience. The Bucs have the better quarterback. But the Panthers have been playing fundamentally better, and they have an identity that is understood. So at number 18, I have the Panthers. At number 17, I've got the Washington Commanders. Commanders are at 17 because they're sort of a tricky team to figure out, but I just kind of feel like they're an average team. I don't want to rank them too low because they lost to the Niners, because they lost kind of a heartbreaker to the Giants. I don't really want to continue to move them down, so I just kept them at the same spot because I feel like they're just an average football team. And in my opinion, they're like a more talented version of the Panthers. They've kind of got a suspect quarterback, but they've got better receivers than Carolina. I think the Panthers' O-line is better, but the Commanders run the ball well, and they try to play this ball possession game. They try to win with their defense. They try to win by chewing the clock, playing field position, playing defense. And I just feel the Commanders are like a little bit of a better version of Carolina. But the quarterback definitely hurts them. And the defense, I feel really good against the run. At times can give up plays in the passing game. At number 17, the Commanders probably won't make the playoffs, but I don't think they'd be a terrible 7th seed in the NFC. At number 16, I've got the New England Patriots. Patriots I struggled with ranking because this week they had the tale of two halves. In the first half, they were horrific. Like, so bad. They were losing 22-0. And then they fought all the way back to make it rather interesting. Not only interesting, but they probably could have won. They fumble at the 5-yard line of Cincinnati, and they end up losing the game. New England is tricky because they are so ugly to watch. Because they're so ugly to watch, they appear worse than they are. Like, this isn't by any means a bad team, and they've proven that, but they're not a great team. Their offense is just a mess from a schematic standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, and I really do believe most of the blame falls on the coaching for this team's failure. Because you look at a guy like Kendrick Bourne, who is the most talented receiver on this team. He has not played enough. He has not been given a good enough opportunity. He's not been set up to succeed by this coaching staff. All of a sudden, they have injuries. He has to get catapulted into the roster in the depth chart, and he plays really well. And that's the guy that Mac trusts, and that's the guy that Mac loves to throw the ball to. And Mac's struggling because of the system, because he doesn't have those guys that he can trust. And they're just not using these weapons, these pieces, these players correctly on offense. Defensively, I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like the front seven is very, very, very good. Specifically, the edge rushers and some of the pieces inside. I think they've got a nice rotation of front seven pass rushers. Uche, Judon leading the way. Secondary, safeties are good. Corners, they're kind of hiding. Right? Because right now, Jalen Mills, Jack Jones injured. They're kind of hiding these guys. They're playing a lot of zone. Marcus Jones is making plays. But, the corners really aren't that talented on the surface. Right? So I feel like they're doing a good job, Gerard Mayo and Steve Belichick and possibly Bill, of coaching up that secondary. But the front seven's really good. They make too many mistakes on special teams compared to other years, but they're still pretty good in that category. So I feel like this is just an average team that kind of gets in their own way from an offensive coaching standpoint. They would be better if they had cleaner coaching on that side of the ball. At the 15-yard line, the 15th team is the Detroit Lions. And that's kind of the way that this team feels to me. They're at the 15-yard line, but they can't punch it in. The Detroit Lions. I mean, it just felt like the Detroit Lions were so close to being a good team. So close to punching it in. But they can't score in the red zone. That's the way that they feel to me. The Detroit Lions. I felt like the opportunity was right there. The opportunity to make the playoffs. The opportunity to make a statement. The opportunity to beat a Carolina team and potentially secure their spot in the postseason. And then they come out and they play like the Lions. They lay an egg. They lay an absolute egg. They get ran all over. They get outpossessed. They get bullied. And this is a team that prided itself. The Lion prided itself on being able to be the physical team, run the ball, stop the run. And the reason I still rank them at 15 is because I'm not going to over-exaggerate one loss. Because I feel like they've been playing really well over the last, half of the season. So I'm not going to say, one loss to Carolina and you absolutely stink. I'm not going to move them back 4, 5, 6 spots. I moved them back here because of how disappointing the loss was and how dominant Carolina was in that win. But I'm not going to completely destroy the Lions for that one loss. But we'll see what the Lions are made of. Can they bounce back here? We'll see. They play the Bears. They should beat the Bears. But you never know. And then I think they're going to have to play the Packers again, which could ultimately decide if they make the playoffs or not. So the Lions are at number 15. At number 14, the New York Giants. The G-men move up in my rankings because in the middle of the season, it kind of felt like the Giants were just losing steam and they were losing some pieces, injuries. They lost who they were. The identity was shook. And then the last couple of weeks, they've kind of been able to regroup, figure out some new pieces that can help them, like Isaiah Hodgins, plug them in, scheme around those players, and be competitive, right? The Giants beat the Commanders in a close game, huge game for their playoff chances. I think they'll beat the Colts this week and make the playoffs. And then this week, they almost beat the Vikings, which I'm going to give them credit for. Going to overtime against the Vikings is fairly impressive on the road. So I'm going to say that those are two good performances in a row. So the Giants trending upward despite their kind of mid-season fall off at number 14. At number 13, I have the New York Jets. Jets are at 13 because I am smart enough to understand that this team is not the team that takes the field when Zach Wilson plays. Okay? This team's different with Mike White at quarterback. Right? This team is a better team with Mike White at quarterback. Just as I said after they lost to the Lions. If they have Mike White in that game, they win the game. Period. No matter how bad Robert Saleh was at managing the clock, if they have a different quarterback in that game, they win the game. This week, if they have a different quarterback in that game, Mike White instead of Zach Wilson, they're competitive in the game. I don't think they win, but they're competitive. It's just such a drastic difference between how terrible Zach Wilson has been and the competence of Mike White. And it gives the entire team a vibe, a positive vibe, and they want to play for the quarterback instead of just absolutely dreading the quarterback. So at number 13, the Jets, still one of the better defenses in football that competes with the best offenses in the league. Quality weapons and, a manager of a quarterback with Mike White in there. At number 12, the Miami Dolphins, who are perhaps the most confusing team to rank in the NFL because Tua, I don't know if he's going to be able to play the rest of the year, but I'm ranking them, sort of if they have Tua, but I'm not really sure. Okay, so Miami, and I tweeted this out earlier, which is why you got to follow me at Mitch Milani, link in the description. My Twitter, at Mitch Milani, Milani. I tweeted about the Dolphins, and I think one of the most overlooked things about the Dolphins is how they mismanage the game offensively. This is a dangerous offense that benefits greatly from explosive plays from their two wide receivers, Jalen Waddle and, of course, Tyreek Hill. But the one area where they could be a lot better in helping their team on both sides of the ball is running the ball, period. I'm not talking about running the ball successfully. I'm talking about sticking with the run. In this game against Green Bay, they could have ran at will, but for whatever reason, they chose not to. Against the Bills, they were very successful running the ball. This team ranks 32nd in rush attempts in the NFL. 32nd. And Mike McDaniel with the Niners was the run game coordinator, which is why he was hired to be the Dolphins coach. So that's backwards to me. Why are you making this guy, Tua, the go-to guy in the offense, the guy that needs to carry the offense with his left arm, instead of being balanced, managing the game, possessing the ball, helping a defense that's struggling, and keeping the other defense on the field, therefore tiring them out and energizing your defense to play that explosive, aggressive style that they want to play. That defense works when your offense can counter it, can play complementary. But the one thing that Mike McDaniel has not realized as a coach, as a rookie coach, is how to coach complementary football. And that's been missing from this Dolphins team over the last few weeks. So at number 12, I have the Dolphins. Very talented team that just doesn't quite play to the level that I think could. I think they're not benefiting to the max of their potential. I think they're underwhelming a little bit over the last month. At number 11, the Green Bay Packers. Packers just beat the Dolphins. It was sort of lucky and fortunate because they did get 3 picks off of Tua turn the ball over. But the Green Bay Packers were able to execute, and like I've said, this team is a different team with Christian Watson out there. I felt like they were exposing the Dolphin defense when he was on the field. As soon as he left the game, I felt like they slowed down a little bit. Romeo Doubs continues to be a little bit inconsistent. Alan Lazard still sees far too many targets and drops way too many passes. The run game is good, but for whatever reason, they don't lean heavily enough into Aaron Jones. We got to get more Aaron Jones in this offense. I don't know why Aaron Jones is not getting the ball 15 to 20 times a game. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And actually, you know who's been good this year for this team has been Randall Cobb. He needs to play more. He really does. Defensively, I think they've been okay. I think their secondary is strong and they make plays and they're good in pass coverage for sure. The pass rush is spotty. The run defense is spotty, but they've got talented players that I think carry a lesser scheme. So at number 11, I have the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is more comfortable, more confident than he was earlier this year, and they're playing good football. At number 10, I've got the Baltimore Ravens, which is a tough team to rank because Lamar hasn't played in weeks, and this team is a different team without Lamar Jackson, obviously one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So Lamar isn't playing, and this offense is just dreadful without him. Not to say that the offense is elite with him, but Tyler Huntley they can't do anything on offense because Huntley's not Lamar, and Lamar is the only chance that this offense has because their scheme from a passing standpoint is less than, their receivers are less than, Mark Andrews feels like he's hurt and playing injured every week. And their run game is good, but they can't really do anything by simply just running the ball. And I think Greg Roman's got to go. I think that's priority number 1 in this offseason. Got to get a new offensive coordinator for this team. Defensively, I think they're a good defense. I don't think they're a great defense. They stop the run well. They've got some good players in the secondary. Roquan Smith has been amazing. But I don't think this is a defense that can carry a team to a Super Bowl. Like, they're good. This team, if they had 1 or 2 receivers with Lamar, I think they would be a true contender, but they don't have those weapons. So at number 10, I've got the Ravens. At number 9, the Jacksonville Jags are at number 9. I've moved them up drastically the last couple of weeks. And it's a little bit to do with Trevor Lawrence. Don't get me wrong here. He's playing really well. But what's impressed me more about the Jags is Doug Peterson and the play calling of the offense and the scheme of the offense and how well he is marrying the offense from a pass and run standpoint. I feel like this is one of the most balanced offenses in football. They can create explosive plays in the pass or the run game. Trevor Lawrence has gained more confidence in moving around in and outside the pocket to make throws. And the defense has been, I still don't have a ton of faith in them, but they're not a bad defense. I think they've got good athletes, good team speed on defense, one very good corner, some good pass rushers, they've got a lot of average players, and I think that's an okay thing. But they've got a couple studs as well. Josh Allen, Campbell, Aluakon, I think are all very good players. But Jacksonville, I just feel, continues to trend upward, and it's because their offense can beat you in a multitude of ways, and they can play that ball possession style. And as long as Trevor Lawrence isn't turning it over, they're a pretty tough team to beat. I will say that the left tackle position is something that I'm worried about against better defensive lines moving forward. At number 8, I have the Minnesota Vikings, who moved down just one spot because another team moved ahead of them, not really because of anything they did, other than the fact that they just have won 11 one-score games, which is unfreaking believable. I don't even understand it. They have a +5 point differential, but Justin Jefferson is uncoverable, unguardable, unbelievable. TJ Hawkinson has been unreal for this team. Adam Thielen and Osborne sprinkle in when they can. The O-line's done all right. If they can find a way to get more of this run game, Dalvin Cook going a little bit, that could make them a truly unstoppable offense with how well Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson are playing. And Kirk Cousins is as accurate as anybody and makes a ton of big throws in every game. Defensively, they freaking stink. There's no denying it. If this defense was the 12th best defense in the league, I'd argue they could win the NFC. But I think they're the 30th, so I can't really say anything good about them other than they get spotty pass rush and they occasionally turn the ball over from the other team, which is where they make their plays. Patrick Peterson will come up with a pick, or Danielle Hunter or Zadarius Smith will get a sack. But they don't often make stops. They just give up a ton of yards. They rather allow you to kick a field goal or they turn it over, and that's kind of the way they are. But the offense is really, really good, and I think deserves more respect. At number 7, the LA Chargers. The Chargers, I don't think are playing great on offense right now. Joe Lombardi has definitely been, I think, the struggle of this team. I think the hindrance of this team. I felt like if I was more confident in the play caller and the play designer of this football team, they would be a team I would truly consider to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. But that part of their coaching staff really is hurting them. I think Brandon Staley has improved throughout the year and adjusted on defense, which I give him credit for. I think he's also become a more competent decision maker on 4th down. He doesn't just always go for it. He picks and chooses his spots. And I think the secondary is playing phenomenally well. Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James really stand out. Michael Davis is playing great. I think they're covering really, really well. Once they get Joey Bosa back, I think they're going to have a 1-2 punch with that secondary that could allow them to play the Bengals really successfully, play the Chiefs successfully, play the Bills successfully, which makes this team the dark horse of the NFL playoffs, in my opinion. Justin Herbert's a stud. We all know that. And when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are there, they're a tough team to guard. So at number 7, the Chargers. At number 6, I got the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are at number 6. Big win over the Eagles, although it doesn't really matter. I think they gained some confidence there. I think Dak played really well. I think their offense moved the ball far more successfully than I thought they would. Their run game is really good. Their pass game is good enough, and I think they do both things pretty well. Defensively, they've fallen off right? They're not the same defense, especially against the pass. I just don't see them being as successful as they were early in the year, which I think might ultimately hurt them in the playoffs, because I just don't think this Cowboys team is built with this roster to win shootouts in the playoffs. I think they're going to need to win through their balance and through some ability to turn the ball over defensively, and I don't think they have that right now. So the Dallas Cowboys to me aren't like a true Super Bowl team, but they're a good team in this league. At number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs were somewhat similar to Dallas in terms of like, I think they're very good, but I just don't think they're a Super Bowl team. And it's for different reasons. Like, Mahomes is really good. Reed is really good. The O-line is really good. Kelsey's really good. Chris Jones is amazing. Best player at his position. But, like, I don't think their secondary is good enough when they have to face teams like the Bills, the Bengals, and potentially the Chargers in the playoffs in the AFC. And then I just don't think they can make enough big plays on defense, and the run game is too spotty for me to count on it, especially in short yardage in the playoffs. But I think the Chiefs can basically beat anybody because they've got Mahomes and he can make some magic happen. I just don't think they can do it consecutively because I think their defense or something else will let them down in one of these big games. But at number 5, I have the Chiefs. At number 4, I've got the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals played that well in the second half against New England. They definitely got outplayed. And I think the loss of Collins at right tackle is going to be a big one. If there was a thought in my mind to move the Chiefs over the Bengals just because of that injury, but then, it just kept going, like reminding me, the Bengals always beat the Chiefs. So it's like almost a thing where I would have to see it happen before it happens, you know what I mean? But the Bengals have great receivers, and that makes them just really tough to stop on any week, and any team, really, any defense. It's just hard to stop them because their receivers are so freaking good, and Joe Burrow is extremely accurate, and he's a gamer. He's got the clutch gene. He's a leader, and the defense, I think when they're healthy, they're very well schemed, and they've got a few good players and a couple good players at every level. I think their injuries are certainly hurting them, and that Collins injury could be the reason they don't make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are number 3. I contemplated them at number 2. But the biggest thing I took away from the Bills this week against Chicago was how well they ran the ball and how well they stopped the run. They limited David Montgomery to under 4 yards a carry. They limited Justin Fields to a terrible day running the football, which is very rare for Justin Fields at this point because he's been tearing it up. On the other side, both of their running backs had ridiculous days from a yards per carry standpoint. And I think that type of balance is why I rank them as the top team in the AFC, because they can win a defensive game. They can win an offensive game. And although I'm not completely sold on everything about this team, and it's still a little too Josh Allen reliant from an offensive standpoint, I feel like if they get the bye, this could greatly help this team get a little bit healthier because they're still not fully healthy, especially at quarterback. But this team to me is just the most well-built, well-rounded team in that conference. So at number 3, I've got Buffalo. At number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles, who dropped a game to the Cowboys, but I'm not even going to get mad at them. They had Gardner Minshew instead of Jalen Hurts in there. But Minshew did his job. I mean, he had a great day. I thought he played really well and made a number of throws stepping in for Jalen Hurts. The O-line is awesome. Lane Johnson did get injured in the game, unfortunately. But I'm worried a little bit about the defense, and I just don't think the defense is playing that well. I think it's kind of like the Cowboys where the defenses scare me in some of these games. And the reason I don't have the Eagles at number 1 right now is because I know there's a team that I can rely on their defense in the playoffs when things get tough. But I still know that they're going to score points. So at number 1, I have, in my opinion, the most well-rounded team in the NFL, the team that I call the best team in the NFL, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I know that it's hard to rank Brock Purdy at number 1, but Brock Purdy has played just as well as Jimmy Garoppolo, and I know that's hard to hear, but that's just the case. You know, Brock Purdy has been moving around well. He's been making good decisions. He doesn't actually make as many questionable throws or decisions that Jimmy would make, right? And the O-line keeps playing better and better and better. The run game is really awesome, and Christian McCaffrey is arguably the best back in the league. Debo's not even playing, and we know he's special. George Kittle's playing the best football he's played the last couple of weeks in like 2 years. And Brandon Ayuk can play. Like, defensively, they're the best defense in football. You can't run on them. It's hard to block them. And they have probably the best coaching staff from an offensive schemer, defensive coordinator combination in the NFL. Like, I think they've just got, to put it simply, phenomenal coaching, great offensive balance, and awesome defense. Like, that's a combination of championship football that's hard to replicate or hard to argue for any of these other teams. So as long as Brock Purdy manages the game, makes enough throws to win, this is the team I would pick to win the Super Bowl. Could they lose? Yes, obviously. But the way they're playing right now, they're the hottest team in the league, and I just like how they play on all 3 phases. So those are your NFL power rankings for week number 17. If you enjoyed, don't forget to spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. And spike the notification bell for the latest upload. Appreciate everybody tuning in here live. Shout out to Philly D, God's Child, Harley Quinn, Becca, Asthma, Nico Heischer, Robs, Daniel, Dried Ocean, Ben. Also, my answer to Ben is no for me personally. Jeremy, Marcus, Jamming, Jermari. Appreciate everybody who joined the chat. Thanks, guys, for watching. Volcano says, why is Tennessee not in the rankings? I think they've lost like 5 games straight, and they're way too injured. I can't put them in the rankings anymore, man. They're not playing good at all. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They just lost to the Texans. So, thanks, guys, for watching. We will see you in the next video tomorrow on the Pick Show that is live tomorrow night on Wednesday night. Big surprise, big news coming to the channel. All right, so tune in for that. Peace.